Welcome to the Explainer. So, what if there was one single, definitive public archive of UFO evidence? Today, we're going to break down a proposal for exactly that, a kind of open source project that's designed to settle the debate once and for all.
Right off the bat, we're hitting a problem that, anyone who follows this topic knows all too well. It's this classic catch-22. If a UFO photo is blurry or ambiguous, it gets dismissed. But if it's perfectly clear, people just scream, hoax. So how in the world do you break that cycle?
Well, the solution being put forward here it's simple, but man, is it ambitious. The idea is to create a public UFO archive, a single trusted place for all the best evidence, hoping we can finally get past this constant back and forth about what's real and what's fake. And look, this isn't supposed to be some dusty old library where photos go to die. The vision is for a living, breathing archive. It's something that's always growing with new submissions from the public. We're talking photos, videos, you name it. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, but what's actually in this archive? Let's get to the good stuff. We're going to look at a couple of the photos that are being held up as some of the absolute clearest and most compelling pieces of evidence ever captured. First up is this, wow. This is a really striking image from back in 1971. It was snapped over a lake in Costa Rica. But the really important detail here isn't just the what or where, it's the who. This was taken by a government survey plane during an official mapping mission. And here's why this photo is considered such a big deal. It wasn't just some random snapshot. Think about it. It comes from an official government source. The claim is that the original, large-format negative still exists and was sent to the archive. And, to top it all off, it was reportedly analyzed by a scientist who did work for NASA and basically vouched for it. That's a pretty strong pedigree. Okay, let's jump forward a decade to 1981 and a case that features a photo some have called one of the best ever taken of an unidentified object. And this thing, it's described as being just unbelievably clear, a perfect, seamless disk reflecting the light. And this brings us right back to that paradox from the beginning, doesn't it? It's so good, so clear, that for a lot of people, their gut reaction is, no way, that has to be fake. Which, of course, raises the big, obvious question. If evidence like this is really out there, why isn't it on the front page of every newspaper in the world? Well, the answer we're given takes us down a pretty deep rabbit hole of alleged secrecy and systematic suppression. So, from here, the story pivots and takes a wild turn towards one of the most famous moments in all of human history, the Apollo 11 moon landing. But we're told to look at it in a totally different light, not as a triumph, but as the scene of a massive, ongoing cover-up. Now, the central claim here is it's just staggering. The idea is that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were not alone up there. The story goes that when they touched down, the rim of the crater right above them was lined with unknown spacecraft, just watching. A moment completely erased from the public record. So how could something like that possibly be pulled off? Well, this timeline lays out the alleged plan. The theory is that it all started back in 1968 when a lunar orbiter supposedly spotted structures on the moon. This then led to a secret plan to pre-film backup footage in a studio, just in case the astronauts ran into something they weren't supposed to see on live TV. And to really hammer home just how serious this alleged secrecy was, we get this absolutely chilling quote, supposedly passed from Neil Armstrong to a close friend. It's offered up as the real reason the famously private astronaut pretty much vanished from public life after he got back. And you have to wonder, what does keeping a secret like that do to a person? That brings us to the alleged human cost. The argument is that the immense burden of carrying this secret knowledge took a huge psychological toll. And it's even pointed to as a possible reason for the personal struggles astronauts like Buzz Aldrin went through later in life. Okay, so if this history of suppression is true, what do you do about it? Where do we go from here? Well, the presentation shifts gears into a call to action, and it lays out a specific plan to try and force disclosure. A huge part of the strategy is just overwhelming numbers. We're talking about building a mountain of evidence so big it just can't be ignored. The archive apparently already has over 850 videos digitized, and there are thousands of physical tapes just waiting to be processed. So how do you turn all that data into action? Here's the proposed 4-step game plan. First, you keep growing that public archive. Then you get credible experts to analyze everything. The hope is that this solid analysis will encourage more whistleblowers to come forward, which in turn creates a wave of public pressure so big that Congress has no choice but to hold open hearings. But here's where it gets really interesting. The claim is that the push for disclosure isn't just coming from the outside. We're told that there's actually a group of insiders, people deep within these secret programs who are fed up and are ready to blow the whole thing wide open. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most provocative thought of all. It's a warning, supposedly from one of these insiders. The prediction is that when the truth finally comes out, it won't be some slow drip of information. It'll be a sudden, world-changing flood, what he calls catastrophic disclosure. It really makes you wonder, what kind of truth would be that explosive?